So, okay. And so, how we're going to practice is, in other yogic breathing is the inhale is short and longer exhale. But what we do is we keep it balanced, yin yang balance. So the breathing, one cycle of breathing is in and out is one cycle. So when baby's born, they are switching breathing from, they breathe through here, through dantien, and they take qi. When we say in Chinese or in Korean, when we say this air, we say empty qi. This is empty, this is qi, energy. And so they don't take, this requires the lungs. So babies are taking the energy from the space through dantien and then take all the energy in, and that's how they breathe. And then as soon as we cut their cords, what happens is they're switching from here to the lungs. That's when they take inhale the first breath and they start crying. yeah, I heard. So life begins with inhale. And then when we die, again, I heard, and then even when we're dying, air is not even ours. So we have to basically exhale everything. Every last ounce of air, we breathe out and then leave this body. So in and out, that's one cycle of life. So when you are practicing, probably after a few in and out, few sets of it, and then afterwards, I feel hyperventilated, or it's just too much, because your body's not used to this kind of exercise. It's the first time you're introducing this sort of practice. So uncomfortable, or kind of, am I doing it right, or a bit awkward? But naturally, it will, as you relax and follow it, it will get better. So in and out is one cycle. So see how many cycles you can do it, and then afterwards, if you feel a little bit shortness of breath, take a rest and back to the normal breathing, and just relax your body from head to toe. Relax, and whenever you're ready, you start beginning again. We begin either 3 in and 3 out. We're going to set the metronome. 3 second in, 3 second out. If that's too easy, 4 second in, 4 second out. If it's too easy, 5 second in and 5 second out. So most people are between 3 to 5 when they first begin. But we had an opera singer once. And so I goes, so how was it? And she goes, 3 seconds were too easy. I said, so how many seconds did you do? And she goes, 8. And everyone's like, what? For an absolute first, like a first comer. But she's an opera singer, so she uses a lot of this. So singing requires this. Yeah. So it's the same thing. Don't think of it as breathing, because when you say breathing, you think of air goes in this way and air comes out this way. And this will be kind of annoying if you try it. So consider this as an abstract form of, you only think of this, dantien and nostrils, and nothing in between. So consider this as this squeezy thing. So when you squeeze it, air gets squeezed out. It's not breathing out. Air gets squeezed out. And when you want to breathe in, you just release it, and air gets sucked in. You're not breathing in. You're not shoving in the air. Air gets sucked in and pushed out. Sucked in and pushed out. We don't think of the lungs in this stage. And then later on, once you cultivate this dantien, and you will know what I mean. We will skip this part. And later on, your entire body opens up, your skin opens up, so you get to breathe through your entire body. So later on, you will start to feel not the physical body, but energetic body, the spiritual body. So your aura, you'll feel the aura and dantien, and this will do that breathing. And then once this one gets even the energy forms, and then once you start sensing, and then heat start to happen, and the body temp, you'll be able to control the body temperature down to the tiny details, like a little bit higher, a little bit lower. It's almost like a digital thermostat. You can control the temperature of heat that's happening in your dantien. You can control really down to minor details. You'll get to that point, and then later on your body stops breathing, and this dantien takes the only, without the empty air, we won't need the empty air, we need qi. Your entire body will take the qi in, and that's all we need. And then you get to that stage, then it's almost like you're not breathing. You will get to probably some people by the third segment, they notice that. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't breathe, but I feel very comfortable and calm state. We want to get there. And that's where all the thoughts disappear, and you feel that it's almost like a coming home. You're coming home, and that very comfortable sensation. You don't need to breathe. You don't have to do all this. This is just for us to get there. But once we get there, there is that space that we want to, that state that has very comfortable, and then you don't need to breathe, and you're physically, mentally, and spiritually, you feel just like, okay, this is it. Then I don't have to explain, and you will say that afterwards, like, yes, I experienced that, and that's where we wanted to go. But once you get there with this group setting, if you experience that, then when you do it alone, it's much easier to get there. But if you never experienced it and just only knowing the theory, it'll be very difficult to grasp that idea without experiencing. This always has to be done seated down. That's the only way you can cultivate your dantien. So raise your tailbone with this just a little bit. By listening to the sound of the metronome, you think of less, because you're busy counting at this point.
Yes.
Like, oh, you have to focus in here.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you could, you don't have to set aside like 20-30 minutes. That's just too much.
Yeah.
And if I think, oh, I'm going to do another session, maybe at 2 p.m., and for some reason something happens at 2 p.m., it's always repeating that way. So don't plan anything. So whenever you find a couple of minutes, set it and sit there and, something like that.
With your tailbone slightly elevated?
It's because if you're sitting without this pillow, then your back gets like this in your lower back. This is natural curve. And you tend to go like this. And what we want to do is the most natural way of breathing. And when we put this pillow just slightly above it, and so then it becomes curved, natural curve, more natural curve. Because my back is already straight. If there's anything, I'm a stiff person, so you can't tell much of a difference. But people who are more flexible, you can tell a bigger difference. So once you raise it, it's more comfortable, and it's much easier for you to sit a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And then when you're sitting down this way, you will notice later that it's not straight as in like straight back, but it's actually, as long as you keep your lower back kind of, set it properly, then your front is slightly bent forward. Because our airway worked that way. Our airway is designed that way. So keep it as loosely as you can. Gently forward about that much. But your height, then that feels more natural. Just slightly bent forward. Yeah, lying down is not cultivating your dantien. You wouldn't not cultivate it. So I don't mind you leaning back against the wall. Just comfortable enough to support your back and make yourself comfortable, but your spine has to be 90 degrees to the ground. So that's the only way you cultivate. For men, sometimes beginning sessions, first session or a second session, I ask them to lie down so they can get the sense of where the dantien is. But for women, no excuse. You know where it is. We never controlled breathing. Breathing is under the control of our unconsciousness.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we can control breathing. So we cannot kill ourselves by not breathing, because our survival instinct will kick in. Yeah, it's impossible, right? It's under the control of unconsciousness. So we're tapping into God's territory. So this has to be approached with utmost respect and also with caution. For example, the plants are growing, and how do they know when to bear fruit, when to grow another branch? How do they know? How does our body know when to stop growing our eyebrows? Sometimes it's too much, sometimes not enough, right? And I mean, our hair grows forever. And, you know, how does our body know how to move the heartbeat and certain beats? When to release certain hormones? It's all under the control of our unconsciousness. Breathing is the same thing. So we never, up until now, you never try to breathe, control your breathing. So it's awkward. You can, yes, you can. So that's what I meant, because every in and out, that one set, every cycle, that's one cycle, is a life. It's one life. So it's all separate. So that's why you don't have to push it to do it all continuously, because it'll be very difficult at the very beginning. Learning hand-eye coordination to play tennis. Later on, it will just come naturally. You don't have to think which foot first, or you know, when to swing. You don't have to think.
It's like a flow.
Yes. So it will become a flow, very natural flow. Breathing, in, out, inhale and exhale. It's not one motion. When you run da 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 da, and then you have to switch the direction. So it's not quite stopping. Inhale, and it's almost like not quite stop, but shifting gear to exhale. Later on, it becomes very flowy, of 4 in, 4 out, 4 in, 4 out. It'll be very natural. Yeah. So I didn't tell you earlier because it's going to be too much to digest at once. But as you're trying it out and noticing these things, then I can just fix you one at a time. It's much easier that way. Yeah. So you basically, that's why I gave you the idea of, abstract idea of no lungs. We skip this part, only here and there, then this doesn't move.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like this. And some people say that they're trying to breathe not upwards but downwards, breathing in and out like this through uterus.
Okay.
Your nose is there, not here. She said that helps her. But how I do it is, of course, when people give the idea of breathing, they naturally relate to this and that, and it never goes down there, right? It never hits here. But now our focus is here, our awareness is here, you're breathing through here. So maybe her idea of breathing through here makes more sense. Or how I look at it is our physical body is here, energetic layer of body is like here, and dantien is here. I'm breathing in and out through the entire unit.
Okay.
So whichever is easier for you. Out of this air, our whole purpose is taking the qi in, not the empty air. We don't need it.
Yeah.
Normal breathing we do. That's why we need the lungs. But then this whole exercise, we want to get to the point where we want to take in. So for example, we need to take this much of air to get that much of qi. We want to skip all this and we want to only take this in lots and lots of units of that only. So it's a slightly different concept.
Okay.
Yeah.